Good morning, teacher. Are you busy? I would like you to help me with something.
Hello, Brian. Well, right now, I am waiting for my students, but I have some minutes.
Excellent. I know that if I want to speak like a native English speaker, I have to practice a lot. But there is also something really important. I have to think in English, right? I mean, if I want to speak English fluently, I have to think only in English. Is that correct?
Well, yeah. It is important to think in English, to speak advanced English.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Everyone says we have to think in English, but they don't say how to do it. That's why I need your help. I need you to tell me how I think in English, teacher.
Oh, that's a very good question, and you're right. Teachers usually want you to think in English, but they never tell you how to do it. All right, Brian, I will help you. First, be honest with yourself, and answer the following question truthfully. Do you have to translate everything you hear, or say in your head, instead of processing it in English? Well, stop doing that. It's not effective for you. When you can think in English, you can process language more quickly, and participate in conversations more easily. The first thing you have to do, if you really want to start thinking in English, is surround yourself with English. And it doesn't mean you have to live in an English-speaking country. Of course not. Although, if you can do it, then that's great. You can do it by giving yourself time every day, where you only hear and see English. You can start with 5 or 10 minutes every day. And then move up to 30 minutes, an hour, or more, whatever you can manage. There are many activities you can do in order to surround yourself with English. For example, listen to music in English, watch videos in English, movies in English, podcasts. And you don't have to sit down to study these things. You can play a video while cooking, or taking a shower. Also, you don't need to understand everything the video says. The important thing is to immerse yourself in the language. Surrounding yourself with English is something very important, and students don't do it. I've had a lot of students who say they want to think in English, but they don't even have their cell phone set to English. As you do this, you can do any, or some of the following: passively listen, repeat words you hear or see, repeat phrases you hear or see. Passive listening takes away any stress and helps you absorb the language better. Repeating words and phrases gets you to activate new vocabulary so you can start using it fluently. By only seeing and hearing English, you start to move away from translation to thinking in English. Also, learn vocabulary and phrases, not single words. It helps a lot. Our brains are pattern-matching machines that remember things put into context. If you memorize phrases more than just words, you will be able to answer with some expression.
Thank you so much for the detailed explanation, teacher. I appreciate your guidance on how to think in English. The idea of surrounding myself with the language makes a lot of sense, and I can see how it would help me become more fluent. I'll definitely start incorporating English into my daily routine and try the activities you suggested, like listening to music and watching videos. Also, the tip about learning vocabulary in phrases instead of single words is really helpful. I'll make sure to apply these strategies consistently.
Another thing that works really well is only using words you know. Also, it is important when speaking in English. Sometimes the students want to express an idea, but lack the vocabulary. So they go and look it up in a dictionary. This is one way to build vocabulary, but it doesn't build fluency. A great way to improve fluency and to start thinking in English is to only use words you know when speaking. Does it sound simple? Yes, it is simple. By not having to struggle with new words or looking for translations, you can focus just on fluency. Also, because you're using words you already know, you never need to translate. You just practice using the words you know in sentences and conversations. When you come across an idea you want to express but you lack the words, you must find a way around it. Just using the words you know or give up the idea and say something else. This is crucial. I have seen many students wanting to express their ideas with advanced vocabulary they don't know, but they still want to use. That makes the conversation less fluid. And do not misunderstand me. I am not telling you not to learn advanced vocabulary. Of course not. In fact, with each advanced word and phrase here in this channel. But if you already know the words to give your opinion, then just do it. Don't try to look for more complicated words. Student, another common technique to start thinking in English is to see an object and say the word to yourself in English. You see this picture of a V, and you say to yourself the words that you see and know. For example, these are plants, green plants in a beautiful garden. I would like to have a garden like this. Again, don't start looking up new words. Just say in your head the words you know. You can do this whenever you have a minute or two of time. For example, when you're in a waiting area, you're waiting for your lunch, or maybe you are just relaxing on your couch. Instead of having a picture, you just look around yourself and say in your head what you see. And this is all about talking to yourself. Yeah, one of the most useful methods to think in English. Talk to yourself all the time. Whatever you're doing, say it out loud if you can, of course. Such as saying, "That's a silly hat," when you see your neighbor in the street. When cooking, I need to ask where they are. Here they are. Now I put in some milk. When you're taking a shower, the water is very cold. I wish this water was a little warmer. Whatever you want to say, just say it. The important thing is you do it every single day. Talking to yourself may sound a bit strange at first, but it's a highly effective method to internalize the language. When you talk to yourself in English, you're actively engaging your brain in the language. This helps reinforce vocabulary and sentence structures, making them more readily available when you need them in conversations. Another important aspect is not worrying too much about making mistakes. Mistakes are a natural part of the learning process. Don't be afraid to experiment with new words and expressions. If you make a mistake, that's okay. Learn from it and move on. The more you practice, the more confident you'll become, and the better your English will get. Remember, the goal is to create an environment where English becomes a natural part of your thought process. The more you immerse yourself in the language, the more effortless it will be to think and express yourself in English.
Thank you so much, teacher. Your insights and practical tips are incredibly helpful. I feel more motivated to incorporate these strategies into my daily routine. I'll start surrounding myself with English, talking to myself in English, and consciously using words I already know. It makes a lot of sense, and I believe it will greatly contribute to my goal of thinking in English. I appreciate your guidance.
You're very welcome, Brian. I'm glad you found the advice helpful. Remember, consistency is key. The more you integrate these practices into your daily life, the more natural thinking in English will become. If you have any more questions or need further assistance, don't hesitate to ask. Happy learning!